You are not as in control as you assume, and that is precisely why certain patterns in your life continue to repeat: hesitation, overthinking, and decisions you regret almost immediately are not signs of low intelligence but the result of a deeper system operating beneath awareness, one that is faster and older than deliberate thought. And until you recognize it clearly, you will keep labeling it as just who you are. Within your mind there are two interacting systems: the thinking process, which is slow, analytical, and deliberate, and the feeling process, which is fast, automatic, and emotional. Yet these two are not equal because the feeling system always acts first, reacting before logic, reasoning, or conscious awareness can intervene, driven by a simple priority of detecting safety or threat. So when you send a message and receive no reply, your rational side may conclude that the other person is busy. But what you experience first is tension, doubt, or subtle rejection, and emotion, a reaction that occurs before logical interpretation even begins. And this is where misunderstanding arises, because most people believe they are thinking their way through life when in reality they react first and only afterward construct logical explanations to justify those reactions. Which is why you can fully understand something intellectually yet still behave in contradiction to it. The real issue is not whether you have control but which system dominates your behavior. And when the tonal system leads, life becomes reactive as you avoid discomfort, seek temporary relief, and overanalyze uncertainty, gradually shaping outcomes you never consciously chose. And the common mistake is attempting to fight emotions with logic, even though emotional responses do not change through reasoning but through repeated patterns and associations. So genuine control does not come from suppressing emotion but from interrupting automatic reactions, beginning with slowing down the moment, because speed is where emotional dominance exists, and even a brief pause creates a gap where deliberate thought can engage, followed by accurately labeling the feeling, identifying it as anxiety, uncertainty, or fear of rejection rather than a vague negative state, which creates psychological distance and shifts your role from being the reaction to observing it. Then separating the feeling from the action by recognizing that emotions are valid experiences but their impulses do not require obedience. Wing anxiety without avoidance or anger without reaction, which is where real control starts to emerge, and finally changing the pattern itself, since the emotional system learns through repetition. Meaning every interruption of an automatic response weakens the old pathway and reinforces a new one, a gradual conditioning process rather than an instant transformation, where the emotional system provides raw, fast, protective energy and the thinking system provides direction, and without direction, energy becomes chaotic, but with it becomes controlled and purposeful. So the goal is not to eliminate emotion, which would remove instinct, creativity, and depth, but to prevent it from unconsciously driving behavior, because many actions are not true choices but moment-driven reactions. And once you begin noticing this pattern, you shift from asking why you feel a certain way to asking what that feeling is trying to make you do, creating separation that restores influence, no force but consistent awareness. And although initially the gap between feeling and action is minimal, with repetition it expands until emotions still arise but no longer dictate behavior. And at that point control becomes real, not through the absence of emotion but through its proper placement, allowing the patterns that once governed your life to quietly and permanently dissolve.